Why have investors lost confidence? Why have businesses lost confidence? Why have consumers lost confidence? And the answer is quite simple. The government spent the first year of office essentially putting the fear of God into New Zealand consumers about how bad things were. They very publicly cancelled projects and programs. They very publicly called for restraint, spending restraint, and they cut their budgets. And this is exactly as Akerlof and Schiller predicted. You tell people bad things, and consumers respond. They took that story and they made it their own. They believed it. They stopped spending. Kia ora koutou, and a warm welcome to episode 23 of Locked Out with Craig Rennie. By day, I'm the economist and director of policy at the New Zealand Council of Trade Unions. But by night, this podcast looks at the numbers in New Zealand and asks the hard questions so that you can too. We hope that you're enjoying the show and that what we do here at Locked Out. If you like the analysis that you hear in the show and think that others would do too, then recommend us to your friends or even your enemies. Also, give us a recommendation wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps get the word out. Here at Locked Out, we're always interested in what our viewers and listeners want to know. If, for example, it's making you say, how does $20 million over 9 months solve the multi-billion-dollar crisis in health? You can be in no doubt we're asking it too. So get in touch. I'm on X, on Blue Sky, and I'm on Substack. We want to hear how we can help you better understand what's going on and how you can navigate the numbers being thrown around by politicians and experts alike. Now, last week, we looked at the GDP result for the June quarter in 2025, which was a fall of 0.9%, far bigger fall than any market forecasters, the Reserve Bank or the Treasury had been expecting. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say, what's going on? Why is it so bad? Why does it feel like despair after 2 years of this government? We were promised to be back on track by now. We were promised a laser-like focus on the cost of living, and we were promised that things would be better. Well, let's have a go. I could tell you it's about unemployment, that there are more than 50,000 people more on job seekers than 2 years ago, or that the number of people reliant on government welfare payments is now increased to over 406,000. That's a record. I could tell you that more than 400,000 people are underutilized in the labour market. Again, a record. That means that they want more work or they want access to work, but they can't get it. I could tell you that 10% of Māori overall are unemployed, 12.2% of Māori overall, of Pacifica people overall are unemployed, and that 21.4% of 15 to 24-year-old Māori are currently unemployed. I could tell you that it's about investment. Business investment in the last quarter fell in commercial buildings, in construction, in plant, machinery, business equipment, transport equipment. That investment in new residential buildings fell 1.9% in the 3 months, and that construction output overall fell 9.4% last year. I could tell you that it's all about government investment, that deciding to abandon school rebuilds, as we did in 23 and 24, deciding to pause and then build a slightly smaller Dunedin hospital, and abandoning almost totally the Ferrier replacement somehow impacted growth. As part of that, I could tell you that it's about government spending, that when you give away more than $20 billion in tax cuts that have gone nowhere, that cuts to science, to research and innovation, to development, to economic development spending have hampered businesses, have stymied their ability to grow, that cutting support for skills acquisition, increasing tuition fees by 6% this year on top of increasing tuition fees by 6% last year is preventing people from getting skills, and that cutting support for apprentices in particular, halving the support for apprenticeship boosts in the middle of a construction skills sector crisis isn't necessarily the best economic policy or advice anyone should be following. I could tell you that it's about people leaving New Zealand, losing hope. I could tell you that there are 73,400 New Zealand citizens who left last year. That's one every 7 minutes and 11 seconds. By the time we've finished this show, about 2.5, 3 people will have left. Forever. That's a record. I could tell you all of these things, but to my mind, there's a deeper issue here. Now, for those of you who are desperately following along at home and who, like me, are incredibly sad economists, you'll be aware of a book called Animal Spirits, written by 2 Nobel Prize-winning economists, Akerlof and Schiller, in 2009. Now, in it, they discuss the role of confidence in the economy and the crucial role that it has to play in investment and in consumer spending, in the importance of the stories that we tell ourselves about the economy, what's called the narrative, about how we can't afford certain things, or that certain things have to be a certain way in the economy, even when there's no evidence to back that up. Importantly, they recognized fear as the key reason why the world recovered so slowly from the GFC post 2008, post 2009. And that was as true in New Zealand as it was in the US or the UK or anywhere else. The problem that the economy faces right now, and the answer to the question, why do things feel so bad, is because the problem the economy has at the moment is one of confidence. Now, you shouldn't just need to take my word for that. Every economic measure of confidence that we have at the moment is at record or near record lows. And it's broad-based. Employment confidence, as measured by the Westpac McDermott Miller Index, is down at levels worse than the GFC, and outside of a very small period during COVID, is worse than at any period of time for the past 20 years. Consumer confidence is at its lowest level for nearly a year, according to ANZ's Consumer Confidence Index. Now, the perceptions of current financial situations, so how people feel about how much money they have in their pockets, that fell to minus 24%, the weakest level since October 2023. So basically since the election. Perceptions regarding the economic outlook over the next 12 months, which are usually positive in a normal year, fell 4 points to minus 20. And we saw one of the best economic indicators that we have, which bizarrely is the proportion thinking that it's a good time to buy a major household item, like a washing machine or a cooker or a piece of major whiteware. That fell 4 points and now remains negative. People are really worried. They're so worried they're not going to go out and buy any of those things. Now, just 1% of investors surveyed over the June quarter expected investment conditions to improve in the coming year. Now, that's according to ASB's latest investor confidence survey. Investor confidence has dipped to its lowest level since COVID-19. Now, business confidence has risen, but business confidence always rises when people with the right color tie or pantsuit are in charge. But actual economic activity in the ANZ business confidence data is down in construction, it's down in manufacturing, and it's down in retail. And the Business New Zealand's manufacturing and services indexes are both firmly in contraction territory. Now, the economist they use, BNZ's Doug Steele, said that despite our forecasts for a modest economic recovery, it will take some time before it feels anything close to normal. So why is it like this? Why have we all lost confidence? Why have investors lost confidence? Why have businesses lost confidence? Why have consumers lost confidence? And the answer is quite simple. The government spent the first year of office essentially putting the fear of God into New Zealand consumers about how bad things were. They very publicly cancelled projects and programs. They very publicly called for restraint, spending restraint, and they cut their budgets. They created a narrative about the economy and the need for some unemployment and some economic pain as a curative, as a restorative for the supposed ills in the New Zealand economy. If you remember, there needed to be some pain, but we would get back on track. And this is exactly as Akerlof and Schiller predicted. You tell people bad things, and consumers respond. They took that story and they made it their own. They believed it. They stopped spending. So interest rates fell because prices fell, because spending fell. But the data tells us that people are saving with any new money. So as interest rates fall, some people will make some more money because they no longer have to pay quite as high an interest rate, but they're choosing to pay the mortgage off faster or save up any balances for a rainy day rather than going out of there and spending any money. And despite what many people believe, this is still a consumer economy in New Zealand. People are choosing to pay down debt. It's exactly the fear that Akerlof and Schiller predicted back in 2008 that we have here. And the economy in New Zealand is made up of four things: consumption, investment, government expenditure, and exports. Any free market economy around the world is made up of those four things. Consumers are spending less money because they're terrified about their jobs. They're terrified about where their next paycheck is coming from. So they're choosing to save rather than spend. Investment is down. Businesses are investing less because consumers are spending less money. There's no route to profitability. There's no point in investing if no one's going to buy anything. Government, rather than investing, has put the engine into reverse. It's going backwards. It's not spending on infrastructure. Net physical investment has fallen in both of the two budgets that we've had in this government. Government investment in R&D in other areas has fallen. Government investment through the welfare state has fallen because we've tied welfare payments to CPI rather than to wages. Wages aren't growing, which means the Crown has less tax. Wages aren't growing because businesses aren't investing, creating employment, which means that people don't spend any money. People don't spend any money, so businesses don't invest, so the government gets less tax, so it has to cut spending. When it cuts spending, we all go round again and again and again. And the only thing keeping the economy moving, the only one of these four cylinders of the engine that's moving is exports. And that's why, despite all the best efforts of exports, we're seeing record dairy prices, we're seeing record demand for horticulture, agriculture products. The economy isn't growing because the other three cylinders of those four-cylinder economy, they're not growing at all. And so we end up in this circular argument where the lack of confidence means people don't spend. The lack of confidence means that spending doesn't turn into investment, that investment doesn't turn into revenue for the government doesn't spend, and we go round and round and round. Now, usually what happens at this point in time in a normal economy is that the government starts to invest again. And we're doing the opposite. So how do we get that confidence back? And the only way we can get that confidence back is to change the story about New Zealand and its economy. Other countries are growing. Australia grew 1.8% last year. Its unemployment rate is 4.2%. A different policy prescription over there has led to a different outcome over there. That's why so many New Zealanders are rocking up on the Gold Coast looking for all of the jobs that are available over there. But it's not just Australia. The UK is growing. The US is growing right now, but it's growing. Unemployment is lower than in New Zealand in those jurisdictions. We have a choice. We're making a political choice not to invest as a country, not to invest as a government, to encourage others to invest. Confidence builds confidence. Instead, we continue to take that confidence away. We see manufacturing plants closing across the country. Those high dairy prices and those high food prices for our goods are causing high food prices and high dairy prices here in New Zealand, which again scares the consumer and says, well, I'm going to spend a bit less, I'm going to save a bit more money. They don't think they're out of the woods when the price of white sliced bread goes up 41.7% in a year. Now, importantly, it's going to take new economic leadership to do that. The same people saying something different is not going to be believed by the public. And all the evidence we have from economic history tells us that we need that new economic leadership in order to give people confidence that this time it is different, and that this time people aren't just going to change the branding on the prescription, but you're going to get more of the same. Leadership that sees the value of public investment, leadership that sees the value in keeping 50,000 people out of unemployment rather than just passively accepting it. Leadership that truly understands the role of government in the economy and the role that the outsized role that it plays, the role that government isn't just there in the background and to get away. It's there to invest and to secure the economy and to manage the economic cycle, not to make it worse. But unfortunately, that's not the leadership we have right now. And unless we see change, we've had 9 months out of the past 15 with an economy where the GDP has been going backwards. We've seen unemployment rise quarter after quarter, and we've seen the number of filled jobs fall month on month on month. We need new economic leadership, and we need a change in direction in order to give us the confidence back and to give New Zealand the confidence back so we can start to see growth return again. Now, thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked Out podcast. We hope you found it in parts maddening and in parts enlightening. If you've enjoyed the show, please give us a review or a recommendation on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you download. Locked Out looks forward to talking more with you next week. Don't work too hard. Goodbye.